the equation of a line. Basically what this means is we need to figure out and write the equation that would match with the information that we're given. I'm going to suggest that when you write the equation, you might want to do it in slope-intercept form. Remember, that means y equals mx plus b is sort of the standard form. That's what we started looking at yesterday. And within that formula, don't forget that the m needs to be replaced with a number for the slope, bless you, and the b would be replaced with a number for the y-intercept. It's a little hard to see. So, when you write your final equation, these numbers, or these variables, excuse me, that I've circled, should be replaced by numbers. There we go, that's a little easier. Bless you. So, your final format would look like y equals, I'll make something up, y equals 2x plus 3, for example. You keep your y and your x. What we need to do is find the slope and the y-intercept so that we can plug those numbers in. We need to have numbers. Right, so these, again, should be numbers. Now, let's start out with a nice easy one. If I said it has a slope of 2 and a y-intercept of negative 3, what would that equation look like? Looking at this pattern, this should be nice and easy, you're just plugging it in. Vincent. Good. You could say minus 3, that's how I'll probably show it. You could say plus a negative 3, that's fine too. So again, here we knew the slope and the y-intercept. So we just plug them into the right places. There's your equation. You might get one or two like that, but that is not the real challenge. As you can tell, hopefully that was pretty easy. So let's make it a little bit harder. There was one example. Next example. Now I'm just writing the information. These will have a few more words possibly. Well, no, they don't give a lot of words. They just kind of say what the slope is. Now, slope of negative 4. Now be careful here. The x-intercept. What? We haven't talked about that. X-intercept of 3. Well, think about what the y-intercept is. It's where the line crosses the y-axis, right? So let's just imagine, you're not really going to need to graph anything for this because your answers are going to be the equation itself. But let's imagine, if the y-intercept means where it crosses the y-axis, then the x-intercept must be where it crosses the x-axis, right? 3. The x-intercept is saying it crosses the x-axis at 3. Yes? You can draw it if you want. It might help you later because the reason I'm giving you this example is you will have one like this in your homework today. So just visualize, right? You guys, we worked yesterday on the y-intercept. It's where it crosses the y-axis. The x-intercept is the same idea. We just didn't use it yesterday. Of where the line crosses the x-axis, it crosses at 3. Now, what I need to do here is get the coordinates for this point. What are the coordinates for this point? I know it crosses right here, so what is this point? What's the x and y value? Luke?
3 and 0.
Yeah, over 3 on the x, up 0 on the y. Now here's why we need to do that. Most of the problems are not going to look like this nice easy one that we started with. Most of them you're going to have to figure out some information. So for example, up here, again, we need the slope. I have that. We need to know the y-intercept. I don't have that. In order to do the equation, I need the slope and the y-intercept. So we have a couple choices. From here, from this point, we could try to count off our slope and try to figure out where it crosses the y-axis. Or there's another method. Look at what we have in our equation. I know my slope is negative 4. I have right over here at this x-intercept where I marked the points, I have an x and a y. So what I have in my information is I have m, I have x and y. Look at our equation. I have m, I have an x and a y I could plug in for x and y. If I plug those in, there's my y. My slope is the m, the -4, that's being multiplied by x. The x, I'm just getting it from this point here, is 3. If I do the math here, can I figure out what the value of b is? Notice what we did here. We substituted for every variable except b, which means I can now find what b, the y-intercept, is. -4 times 3, -12. Opposite of -12 to get the b by itself, plus 12. 0 plus 12, 12. I found the b. I found the y-intercept. In order to write these equations, you need to have your y-intercept and you need to have your slope. By using the point of the x-intercept and plugging those values in for x and y, that means that the only unknown left is b, so you need to find the b. Find the b. Now, our final answer, y equals, instead of m, -4, x, plus my b value, 12. Remember up at the top, I highlighted that you have to find the m and the b values and plug those in. I found the m, well actually we didn't have to find it, it was given to us. We had to find the b value, the y-intercept. If you can plug in 3 out of the 4 variables with a number, you can find that 4th variable. Now we're going to do another one that's kind of similar to that. So if that totally hasn't sunk in yet, we'll get to, I'm just going to do one more example. Again, for this lesson, find m and b. Find the m and the b. They might be given to you, like in that very first example that was so easy. If they're not, those are the things you need to find. So, last example. What if all we know is that the line is going to go through 2 points, -2, 5, and 4, 8. Now, you could try to graph it, you could try to count off the slope, you could try to use that slope to then determine where it's going to cross the y-intercept, but you have to be absolutely accurate in your graphing. So I'm going to show you a different way. Do I know my slope, my m? No. Could I find it using 2 points? Yes, good. Think about when we found slope, x1 and y1, x2 and y2. The formula, I'll just rewrite it here, for slope, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Because I know 2 points, I can find the slope using the slope formula. I'll plug those values in, we'll get the slope, then we've found our m. Then after that, all we have to do next is find the b. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and plug them in. My y2 is 8, my y1 is 5. My x2 is 4 minus -2. Be careful with that, always minus from the formula, negative from the x1 value of -2. If I simplify, I end up with 3 over 6, which is 1/2. There is my slope. So again, using 2 points to find the slope by using that formula, and that's our m. Okay, now the next step is we have to find the b. Here's what we're going to do. On the last one, let me just pull up that last sheet real quick. Notice what we did here. We had the slope, and we had an xy pair that we plugged in. Here, I've got the slope, and I have 2 choices for an xy pair to plug in. I just need to pick one. It doesn't matter which one. They should both work. So, which one do you want to pick, Courtney? The first pair or the second pair? Okay, Courtney says go with number 2. We're going to try that. Remember the formula, y equals mx plus b. I'm going to plug the y value. Courtney said let's use the second point. I'm going to plug that y value, 8. M, oh, I just figured that out. That's over here, 1/2. Times x. Okay, back to the point Courtney picked. 4 is x. I don't know the b yet. I don't know the y-intercept. So this final step is always going to be find the b value, the y-intercept. And actually, now that I look at this, I'm glad Courtney picked this one, because the first pair had a negative in it, and that's one more detail to try to remember. So I think that was a good choice, Courtney. If we do PEMDAS, we first simplify. 1/2 times 4 is 2. I subtract 2 from each side. I get B equals 6. I've got my M up here. I've got my B. These two parts here, I need both. And now I just plug them into my equation. Final equation, we use y equals mx plus b. 1/2 for m, 6 for b. Remember that a slope-intercept equation always keeps the x and the y in its equation, because that means we could plug the x and the y value from any point into this, and it would make a true statement. That's all. All of your answers should end up looking something like this: y equals some number x plus or minus another number. And that's it.